Lisbon, Portugal, part 2. This is one of my around the world trip vlogs. I'm doing an around the world trip for 15 months. In the previous video, I ate pastel de nata, bitok, seafood rice, and I watched a little bit of fado.
Alright, good afternoon guys. So I just finished taking a walking tour, a free walking tour. How these free walking tours work is that, or how I find them to work is, you find them online, you find like a you type it in, free walking tour in the city, and then there's a meeting point. You usually meet up at a park or a plaza, square, public square. And then from there, the walking tour takes you around the city or around the area, explaining historical facts and cultural things. Highly worth it. Highly worth it. I highly suggest you take one because if not, all you're going to be doing is walking around the city and not really knowing the meaning behind sculptures, behind buildings. And to me, I've been traveling for quite a while now, so just seeing monuments and just seeing cities isn't that interesting anymore. But I think what's interesting is getting to know the meaning behind the sculptures, behind the monuments, of how things came to be. So highly suggest it. Highly suggest taking a walking tour, and then they're free, but you tip at the end. You tip how much you think is appropriate. So yeah, I typically tip anywhere from 5 to 20 euros. I've been tipping anywhere from 5 to 20 euros on this trip in Portugal. Highly suggest these free walking tours. Do them. Just do them. I think that they're the best things I do here when I travel. All right. Interesting fact, Portugal was under a dictatorship from the 1920s up until 1974. So before that, people could not really gather in groups of 3. People didn't have access to education. Half of the population could not read or write, and it was a dictatorship. And what surprises me is that it was until 1974. That's pretty recent, pretty freaking recent. 1974 to 1976, kind of like a revolution happened, but it was peaceful. There was no bloodshed involved. It was a kind of like a peaceful transfer of power. But that's because the people stood up, people gathered up, and you know, had enough. Interesting though. When I travel, I like to invest in educational things like walking tours or experiences, because if I don't do these things and I'm just like walking around, yeah, I learn a lot walking around, but I don't go deep. I don't go deep into the culture. And I'll rather spend an extra 20 euros, 30 euros that day to get deeper into the culture. Like, there's no point for me to go to a city and then just do the bare minimum and not really learn that much and really be superficial, just because I wanted to be cheap, compared to if I just were to spend an extra 30 euros. So that's what I do. I invest a little bit more to learn more, because that is what I came for. Or else, what's the point of traveling in the first place? Okay, so this statue behind me here, right there, that is a building built by the dictator Salazar. Salazar was a dictator, the only one dictator that dictated from 1920, like the 1920s to 1970 to the 1970s. Interestingly enough, half of the Portuguese people loved them, kind of like the older folks. Half of the Portuguese other people, the younger folks, hate them. So This was one of the monuments built by him, and it actually has a better significance than the Tower of BELEM, which is all the way to the other side back there. The Tower of BELEM is a tourist trap. Honestly, it doesn't have anything that special and doesn't have that much significance. It is just a defense tower built by the Portuguese because they were afraid that the Spanish were going to come and attack. That never really happened. So BELEM Tower, Spanish defense mechanism. This is more of a historical significance that has important figures of the Portuguese history, dating back to when the Portuguese started to conquer and dominate all these colonies around the world. So now I am trying pastéis de Belém, and these are the famous pastéis de nata that originated here in Lisbon. Here actually at this place. These pastries are made out of egg, of the yellow egg yolk, and sugar, and a whole bunch of butter, and breading on the outside. This is the first place where they originated. This is the original recipe, and let's give these a try. You usually put cinnamon on top and you drink it with the coffee. Let's see how it goes. First flavor that comes up to mind is egg, right? Egg and a little bit of sweetness. Crunchiness from the breading itself. It's kind of like a croissant, but a bit more crunchier. But eggy. That's how it tastes, like eggy. Eggy with sweetness and butteriness. Bon appetit. I'm in the same place, and now I'm trying like a breaded donut with cream inside, and like a coffee with milk. Check it out. Such nice people. Wherever I'm at, I just sit down and I start talking to the people next to me. They're all usually just tourists like me, so it's easy to keep the conversation going. And it's a fun time. I think that's the thing to do. Just sit down and start talking to people, because that's what you're here for. At the end of the day, there's nothing else to do than to eat, relax, and talk to others. All right. So one of the things that I do when I travel is I try to take local transportation. The bus here is only costing me €2, whereas an Uber would cost me anywhere from 5 to 10 euros. So that's what I try to do. Another thing that I noticed is to be careful when you get charged for food. So I was supposed to get a discount, or I was supposed to get one of my pastries out because it was damaged, so I wasn't supposed to be charged. But the guy kind of haggled me to pay it, which is not good business, after he had told me he was not going to charge me. And yeah, just be careful. And I would say your negotiation skills, you got to practice them, and put yourself out there to know when to stand your ground. And that's one thing I have to learn, to stand my ground when something's not right.